So I'm actually literally putting some streaks down. And I'm going to try to fill in a little bit of those areas with greens. And I'm letting the areas closer to the light be the richest in saturation for the yellows. As we go away, it's okay if it gets a little bit more diluted. I'm loosely just putting some yellow to um, indicate some of the brighter areas that I'm going to put some greens onto later. All right, now I'm going to grab some green, try to fill in some of these areas here. The green will be most evident as we go, as we look at the surface of the trunk. Even though we know the branches themselves are not green, but that's helping to convey the green that will, that is the green that our eyes are seeing. It's coming across as a glare. And I'm going to let these areas dry first before I put any blue down, because I don't want the blue to bleed too much. And again, this is just so that I have a lighter layer of green to represent the area of the leaves that is in the light. And eventually I'm going to cover them more with my darker greens, cooler greens. So the trick here is that to show the streaks of light, we essentially need to portray them on the surface of the trunk. So it's really the streaks that are showing some of the trunk to be a certain color. They're showing them to be lighter streaks of green as opposed to darker areas. And that's what tells your eyes that there's streaks of light here running across the scene. So once you see that, then it's easy to kind of see how the color, you kind of have to ignore what the local color of the tree trunk is, and you know that it's most likely a kind of brownish. It's okay if it blends in a little bit with the green around it. We can cover up some of that. While I normally would put down some sky first before I lay down other colors, I really wanted to preserve more of the luminosity of the paper showing through all the various colors. So I'm choosing to paint the sky sort of discreetly, and it'll have a little bit more of a disjointed feel to it. Now I'm going to try to work on sort of the bottom area of the trunk. See if it looks a little bit on the spectrum of like brown to purple, purple being in the middle here. It's a little bit browner towards the bottom. I can go over the blue because it's pretty much dried. And I want to be cognizant of some of the branches. You can see lighter areas, much lighter areas on top. So it's nice to be able to capture that. So this has really kind of become an experiment in how much can I paint of this using this flat brush. And flat brushes are useful because they really retain a lot of water, and they allow you to put down very even strokes of paint even after you've used them for a little bit. And I'm trying to use the brush to my advantage to keep creating these wavy lines. So it helps produce this impression of the lines in the bark. Once I start adding these colors, it helps convey more of that sense of like a magical sense of there's light bouncing from everywhere and crisscrossing. So I did switch to a round brush because I want a little bit more of a flowing quality, putting a few strokes of purple here. I'm going to go over this part again, but I'm using these to kind of guide me and help me create these flowing strokes that represent the bark. This has dried a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit of color here. And I think that will be a very useful color to darken certain branches. And so doing a little lifting here actually helps with emphasizing these streaks. So these lines of the bark as they go up should be getting a little warmer. So I'm going to start from the bottom and go work my way up a little bit, try to blend in these the dark with the surfaces that I've already painted. Blue will just make things feel cooler. So it should feel a little cooler as it comes closer to us. I'm going to actually use my round brush to do that. Like around here, to have a little bit more control in terms of, like, I want to create an area here of dark green instead of just like strokes. I'm trying not to cover up the very edges of the lightest green of the leaves, or even from behind where there's another canopy above those leaves. Where there's direct sunlight, like here, there's like going to be darker green goes on top of the blue. It feels pretty natural to me. So some things are okay looking like accidents, but if there's a branch that just seems to start out of nowhere or ends, you know, just stops in midair, you should just make it up. So yeah, everything down here is just slightly more resolved and defined, but everything is a little bit more diffused, and you know, we see the edge of the tree trunk, but there's a lot of areas where it's kind of lost in the light, and this is really just to like indicate the flowing, the lines, the curvy lines of the bark. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comment or send me an email at francis@art-francis.com. Thanks. Good night.